Hello, I'm going to be talking about Standard 3, Equity and Cultural Responsiveness. Um, Standard 3 discusses effective educational leaders strive for equity of educational opportunity and culturally responsive practices to promote each student's academic success and well-being. So some examples of the standard is in order to be effective in multicultural schools and classrooms, principals and teachers must one, relate content to the cultural backgrounds of their students. If teaching ignores student norms of behavior and communication, it provokes resistance while teaching, and this is not responsive, which promotes involvement. Some of the evidence that supports that is continual engagement among diverse students which also requires a holistic approach where the how, what, and why of teaching and learning are unified and meaningful. Culturally responsive teaching engages intrinsic motivation and respects student cultural identity. So in order to determine the evidence for evaluation, educators should be following the following approaches in their teaching with culturally responsive education. Classroom instruction should relate to cultural norms for social interaction to enhance student social development and social skills and problem-solving ability. In order to do this, teachers need to adjust wait time for students from different cultures to enhance participation and the development of critical thinking skills. Also, teachers need to be empathetic to the cultural shifts that many immigrant students or other students with minority family and community cultures that students have to make when they move between school and home. Also, assisting parents in gaining skills to negotiate with the educational system and also provide knowledge of the norms of the behavior that governs schools. A culturally responsive and respectful instruction approaches in character, education, and social skills. Some ways to do this is using Understanding by Design by Wiggins and McAtee for lesson plannings. And by doing that, you should be, as a teacher, or an educator, identifying what students should know and able to do. And how will we know when students know it and are able to do it? Using formative and summative assessments as evidence of learning. Changing instruction methods when educators discover that students don't know the content and are not able to apply it in their assessments. Also, framing and adjusting teaching and learning into inquiry-based questioning. Educators should consider and adjust thinking of narrowing the racial achievement gap and also providing alternative assessments in students' first language of origin. Once those two things are done, we should also be sharing this standard and the decision-making process. So that entails examining the data with the school district, adjusting instructional practice, analyzing data in order to promote closing the achievement gap by providing educational goals. Once that is done, sharing the data with the board, community, and nationally through presentation. By doing all of that, use this data from assessments such as the PSAT and advanced placement classes to encourage placement of EL students in courses that reflect the whole school student body. Now that I've finished with Standard 3, I'd like to talk about Standard 4, which is Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment. This means effective educational leaders develop and support intellectually rigorous and coherent systems of curriculum, instruction, and assessment to promote each student's academic success and well-being. Some examples of the standard is curriculum. The curriculum should be a structured set of learning outcomes for a prescribed course of study. It does not tell educators how to teach and do not tell how to test, but what it does is provide what is expected from every student at each grade level, even where there is not a test. It also does not withhold curriculum that students will be assessed on because they may not understand the standard. It also ensures that every child who is in our school works on the specified curriculum and master standards and the content limits within. Also, textbooks selected by the district or school are considered a tool, not the curriculum. Second, instruction, teaching and learning strategies we use to design experiences that promote learning of the curriculum. That's what the meaning of instruction is. It also is teaching strategies. Teaching strategies are the vehicles we use to drive the learning. This can also be considered evidence through observation and evaluation, which I'll get into in a little bit. Some of these things that evaluating leaders should be evaluating is differentiated instruction, personalizing the lessons, active learning, student engagement, and scaffolding. A quality lesson design that moves all students toward mastery of a rigorous curriculum. Assessments. Assessment is how we and the students know what students have learned. It allows educators and leaders to determine through data if students are able to demonstrate what they know and what they can do in a variety of ways. This can be in terms of formative or summative assessments. Data collection are in the form of the following items, and it can be done daily and weekly, which includes formative assessments for learning. And some examples of those are student self-assessments, if they're able to provide descriptive feedback, a selected response, written response, personal communication, like cooperative group experiences, and performance assessments. Some things that educators should be doing 1 to 4 times a month are formative common assessments, which include writing samples, having the learning target problems of the week, daily, weekly journals, and other student work such as worksheets, assigned homework, classwork. Which should be done 2 to 4 times a year as evidence, and also can be considered as evidence for evaluation, is data about people, practices, and perceptions. That includes demographics, enrollment, survey, interview, observation data, and curriculum maps. And one last thing, annually, and this is also considered evidence for evaluation and decision making, is summative district and state assessment. They're strand items based on performance and Common Core standards, for example. They're aggregated and also show student work performance. In order to determine evidence for evaluation for leaders, use a standards guide for all classroom decisions. The expectations for educators for learning are the same for all students, even those students who have traditionally performed at low levels. Determination of the effectiveness of instructional practice is whether or not students result in higher levels of achievement. Assessment results used to inform teacher about the effectiveness of curricula and instructional decisions, and evidence that educators are moving away from the standards reference to standards-based curriculum instruction and assessment. Once that is done, and what we should be doing is sharing the standard and decision-making process. That can be in the form of professional learning centers, which are another word, or PLCs, and this is where teachers learn from each other. Also, the formation of content communities or committees, such as technology, standard-based assessment committees, data teams, etc. Professional develop to inform and improve ongoing learning of the standard, using the data from informal and formative assessments, summative assessments, and state-mandated performance tests to drive future decision-making for instructional teaching strategies and learning. And finally, presentations of data during faculty or staff meetings, leadership meetings, board meetings, or community internet posts and meetings. And that concludes my my little documentary on the standards for Standard 3 and Standard 4. Thank you for watching.